Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome to my channel. My name is Mimi. Hello. So today we have the second installment to my Realtime series, and if you haven't watched part 1, you can find it easily on my channel, so you can click on my channel link and it'll bring you there and you'll be able to find the part 1. And if you don't know what the series is, it's basically where you watch me, obviously real time, and we just have a nice little chit chat, and while we watch, hopefully you can learn a little something about the methods that I use and just what it is that I do while I color. And I do plan to talk the whole video for this one, so if you don't want to hear me talk, feel free to just mute the video and turn on your own music and speed it up or whatever it is that you want to do. So let's get to it. So on my little list of things to talk about, the first one is about the commission itself. So I did talk a little bit about it in the last video, but for this one I do want to talk about mainly the color selection of it. So obviously with commissions that involve people's original characters or OCs, you're gonna get a reference for the colors and just the general design. And for this one, specifically the vest, I just realized, I just didn't have that many nice brown colors in marker, and I was like, really, how am I gonna do this, because I need a nice cool brown for this, but I really lack cool browns in my collection. Most of my browns look more on the orange side. They're warmer browns, so I was just like, well, I could maybe layer a gray marker on top of a warm color, but it might come off looking a little bit uneven. So my solution was to go ahead and grab my single Studio Blick marker, my single Blick Studio brush marker in the color sepia, I believe. And so I was just like, okay, I have one light color, but at first I wasn't sure if I wanted to use that one, just because, as you can see, it has a slight green tinge to it. But I was like, it's kind of the only option that I have here, because I have the Copic Ciao set of 72, and this is the set A. And set A has, a good amount of colors, a little bit of everything, but there's only about 4 or 5 browns, and 4 of the browns are pretty much really, really warm. And warm meaning like yellow browns and orange browns or red browns. And so the other colors, the last 2, one is a dark, it's burnt umber, so it's more of a reddish brown, while the other one is dark brown, which is a nice, neutral brown. But I needed something more cool, and what I mean by cool is not necessarily green brown, but how do I explain it? See, this is the part where I have a hard time describing colors. So it's basically a brown that has a little bit of purple in it, if that makes any sense. It's not taupe, but it's just a tinge bit of purple in it, and a lot of the times it's not as saturated, so that meaning it's more closer to the gray side of things. I don't know how to explain it. That's probably the most I don't know, weird way to describe it, but yeah, cool browns are not orange brown at all. They're just not anywhere near that type of color. So that's what I needed for this vest, and all of the references had this type of vest color for him. So I was like, I need to get that. And because of my Copic selection, I was just like, well, I don't know, I have to improvise. So that's what I did. I got the Blick marker, like I said. And for the darker stripes on his vest, I used the Winsor & Newton brush marker in Warm Gray 5. And I was just blessing myself, because I was like, I knew I would need that warm gray color at some point. Why don't I have any more warm grays? They're just really great colors. They're not quite cool browns, but if you want to tweak it a little bit, they can be considered warm browns sometimes. just because like they're grays but with like a little tinge of like red in it and brown whatnot. I don't know, it's like this whole thing. But anyway, that was my little spiel about the color selection of the vest. And after I like had that all laid down, like the base colors for the stripes, I was just like, so now what am I gonna shade it with? Now isn't that the question of the day? So I tried some cool grays because I don't have any warm grays. So I had to do what I could, and I used some cool grays, and I was just like, that doesn't look like it fits at all. So I think at the end what I ended up doing was just going over with the brush marker that I used, and I just went in there and shaded. So that kind of influenced me to go and purchase some more colors, and that's my next topic. So I don't know if you guys know about this sale, but on Blick Arts Materials, they have a sale where if you spend more than $35, you will get free shipping, but you also get 25% off. So I was like, oh, that sounds like a pretty good deal. So I went on there and, you know, with the intention of just getting a few markers that I actually need, meaning warm grays and better browns, and that's exactly what I did. But of course I had to notice like the new markers that came out and all that jazz, and I saw that the studio brush markers, the Blick ones, now have refills. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, refills, like they're pretty much on par with Copic now, because like if they have refills, that's basically like there's no reason for anyone to buy Copic markers unless they just wanted like certain colors. So I'm like someone who's big on researching all about the stuff that I want to buy and whatnot, and I went online and looked at the new markers, just like all of the new markers that have come out, and this would mean like the chart pack Spectra ad markers. This would also mean the Prismacolor, or not Prismacolor, the Spectrum Noir illustration markers, and then these new Blick markers. So I like researched all about them. And the Spectrum Noir illustrator markers, if you don't know, they are brush tip ended, and then they have a fine tip at the other end. So it's kind of like the Prismacolor Premier brush markers, and those ones also have refills though. That's the only thing, the Spectrum Noir I mean. So I was like, that's a pretty good alternative to Copic, because like they also have their refills. But now that the studio markers, the Blick ones, have them, I'm just like, well, you know, that kind of like changes the game a little bit, you know? And I looked at the prices for the refills, and they're $3.99 compared to like Copic and Spectrum Noir's refills, which are like $5 to $6. So I was just like, oh my gosh. And with the 25% off deal that they had, that brought the markers down to like $2.99. Yeah, you heard me right, $2.99. That is insane. So if you take, let's say, the marker price, I think normally it's like $2.89. If you take 25% off of that, it becomes $2.23 a marker. And if the refills are only $2.99, that makes it that like the marker and refill together becomes around $5, which is the price of one Copic sketch. I kid you not. And I was just like, are you joking me? Like, what is this sorcery? Like, what is going on right now? Like, it sounds too good to be true, to be honest. And so I was just like, I need to, you know, take advantage of this situation, of this deal. So I went ahead and added like a ton of shit, you know, I just said that, a ton of crap to my cart. And you know, obviously I didn't like the price as much, but I was like, it's a lot better than what it could have been. Because, you know, with Copics, first you have the marker. Let's say you get like a Ciao marker, it's $3.58 a marker. and then you add the $6 refill on there. That's about like $10, $11 for a set of refills and a set of markers. So I'm just like $11. These Blick markers with this whole deal though, like holy crap, like $5 and you get the refill and the marker. Do you guys get me? Like, my mind right now is just like, how is that, like, how are they making a profit? Like, that's too good to be true. Like, too freaking good to be true. Oh my god. So if you guys are in need of markers and you really want Copics, like, I would hop on that. Like, this deal is too good. It's way too good to pass up. So anyway, so yeah, so I went and got some markers from there. I got like mainly the warm grays because I need some warm grays, and then I got like 2 cooler browns. I hope they're cooler. It's hard to see like exactly what the colors are online, but I'm just crossing my fingers here. And then I got a few like Copic refills just because like I need them for some of my skin tones. And then I got a few lighter colors in the Blick Studio range as well. So I'm kind of excited for those because it's also my birthday soon. If you didn't know, my birthday is on November 2nd. So I'm just like, this is a birthday present to myself, hee hee. And it's also been, what, 2 years since I've done any type of like online art materials haul. So I'm super hyped about that because it's just been so long. I think my last online art purchase was 2016, and that was for some Holbein watercolors. So that's not even markers. Like, my last marker haul was 2015. Yeah, 2015. That's a long time ago, and I haven't really bought that many like marker related things since then. So I thought it's about time that I treated myself. So here I am, and I'm excited to try out more of these Blick Studio markers. I keep having the urge to call them Studio Blick markers, but I'm just like, they're Blick Studio. Maybe I should just try calling them Blick markers, if that would work. But anyway, I only have one of them, like I mentioned before, so I'm excited to try those out a little bit more. And if you guys want me to do a review on them, I wouldn't mind doing that. I do want to do a few more product reviews in general, because I do have a watercolor set. It's called Prima. Forgot what it's called. It was like Prima pastel watercolor set, and it was like based on some kind of confectionery thing. What is it called? Prima? Primary confections? I don't know. Just like totally disregard what I just said there, but like there's this cute little watercolor set that I've been wanting to review for like a year now. It just hasn't happened yet, but I do want to kind of review those. And then I wanted to review some other markers. I do want to try out the Spectrum Noir markers that I mentioned beforehand, but haven't really gotten my claws on them just yet, but hopefully at some point I will, because they look really promising. They have the same type of barrel as the Blick markers, I think, but they have like both the brush marker, like the brush end, and the nice little felt tip end. Is it a felt tip? I always forget. Like, for someone who's been in the art community for so long, I'm forgetting simple terms like the bullet tip. But yeah, so that has that, and it just looks really nice. If you guys have tried it, like, please let me know how they are so I can like determine if I need to pick some up or not. Because the Spectrum Noirs, they have a really good color selection. They have a lot of pastels, a lot of dark colors. Like, their color selection is really good, way better than the Blick markers, I gotta say. So I do want to start collecting those rather than just Copic markers, because I don't really want to be spending too much more money anyway. So that's my future plan. And speaking of that, I was thinking lately that I wanted to start using my pro markers a little bit more, and I'm not talking about the Winsor & Newton ones. I'm talking about the ones that are made by Letraset. And if you're not familiar with those ones, basically I think back around 2013 or 2012, that was when Winsor & Newton officially took over the Letraset branding, so that's why Winsor & Newton sells pro markers now. But I had these back since I think 2012 was when I first got them, so I was definitely like, I started out with the Letraset markers and I really liked them, and I'm just kind of sad to see them go because it was kind of a very signature portion of my childhood, because those were my first markers ever, and I have a lot of them, and I do want to start using them a little bit more because I feel bad to just keep them in a little case locked up somewhere. Well, they're not locked up, they're in their own little case, but it's in one of my drawers, one of my art drawers, and I haven't really touched them since. They do have some really good browns and some really nice purples and pinks. Actually, they just have a really good array of colors, but sometimes I'll go in there for a select color, such as kind of a goldy color that could be used for golds and bells and stuff like that. And I also always go back for this certain yellow color, because I mentioned in the last video for this part 1, I was talking about pea yellow colors, and what I mean by that is those really bright colors that you get with markers usually. That's like an acid yellow, like literally pea yellow. And I would rather prefer, you know, colors that are a little bit more pastel, some nicer yellows, something more like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example of a nice yellow color. Maybe non-processed butter. That's kind of a weird example, but like, let's say, you know how there's butter that's really yellow, that's like artificially colored yellow? Then you also have like the more whiter color butter. It's like whiter, but also kind of yellow. Like that kind of yellow is what I'm talking about. So like, some of my favorite yellows are from the Letraset line, from Pro Marker. And then I had a bunch of flex markers that were really pale colors, and they were just gorgeous. I used them for everything. Like, they were just great colors, and those eventually just completely dried out, so I can't use them anymore. And I'm just a little bit sad about that, but... Oh yeah, those weren't even pro markers, those were flex markers. If you guys know the brush markers now, I had the flex markers, which was the Letraset version of the brush markers, and they were so good. I loved those markers so much. Like, I won so many of their little raffles and stuff, and I just accumulated quite a bit of markers. I don't know how many I have of the Letraset ones. I think it was about 56, 60 something. Who knows, it might be more than that, because like, I used to love just pouring all my markers out on the floor and just looking at them, but I haven't done that in years. It was just like this little thing that I loved to do when I was younger, just to look at all the colors and the markers and stuff. It was aesthetically pleasing to me for whatever reason. But yeah, so I had a lot of those, and they had some really good colors in there. And speaking of purples, like I mentioned before about my browns and how I didn't have a very good array of them in the Copic line, my Copic purples aren't that much better. I do really like them, but they don't really fit together that well, because the blue violets are okay, but the actual violets, some will jump from like a super saturated like grape color to another color that's like a super unsaturated weird lilac color, and I don't know, it just doesn't work out, you know, because when you try to mix saturated colors with unsaturated colors, sometimes it just doesn't really look that right. I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. So that's just my situation with my purples right now. My blue violets, like I mentioned before, they're perfectly fine, like they actually fit together, but the violets that I have are just really like, they leave a lot to be desired, to be honest. But yeah, so my pro markers had a lot of really pretty, nice purples, and they were on the more cooler side of purple though, because you're gonna have the orchid purples, which are warmer, and then you're gonna have the lilac lavender colors, which are a little bit on the cooler end of purple. But they were just so nice, and the Letraset inks are just gorgeous. Like when you lay them down, so even, so nice. It's just full of color. I just loved their ink so much. I still love them, and I guess the reason why I don't use them as much is because the pro markers don't have the brush nib on them, and also just because I want to preserve them. I don't want them to disappear. So many of my flex markers are dried up, so like I had to get rid of those, and I'm just sad. I don't want to get rid of them. It's like my little babies. And like, do you guys have any art supplies that were kind of like your first, and even though you don't use them anymore, you still can't bring yourself to get rid of them? For me, it's kind of the same thing. I don't really want to get rid of them. I just want to keep them there for sentimental purposes, and who knows, in the future I'll just look at them and be like, oh, it's my little babies, like back all the way during like my high school days, my first markers. I got them back in like 2012, like I said, so it's already been a good 6 years since I've had them, which is such a long time. It's crazy. It's really been that long. And funny enough, I had been doing art before that, but I had started with digital art, which I know probably doesn't make any sense because usually everyone starts out traditional, and I did start out traditional in terms of drawing and inking, but when it came to coloring, I actually started out with a tablet. So my friend, her mom had won a pen tablet at Staples for whatever reason, and she had one and it was all cool and stuff, and I guess like I was playing with it and I thought it was really cool, so her mom let me borrow it since like she never used it. So I borrowed it, and that's how I started my whole like art career. I started out like digital, and now digital art is literally the bane of my existence. So you see, your origins, you always, you know, stray away from where you began. And that's just how it happened with me. I also started out with like a lot of Bleach fan art, if you guys remember that phase of mine back on like DeviantArt. Oh my gosh. Funny times. Funny times. But I'm kind of out of the whole pairing art thing anyway. I do a lot of original art and like little cute fan arts for, you know, individual characters, not just a... On that note, do you guys remember my Tokyo Ghoul craze? That time when I posted a bunch of Tokyo Ghoul fan art and just raved about it? It was insane. I was on Tumblr for it, following the manga. I was on Instagram posting fan art. It was just like so funny. I was completely infatuated with the characters, especially my lovely Toka. She was my waifu. She still is my waifu. Come on now. But yeah, like it recently ended and I was just kind of sad because it was another ending of my childhood. But I think it's just one thing that you have to accept. The series that start all the things that are great must also come to an end at some point. Yeah. So anywho, we are reaching the end of the video, so thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully you guys learned something from the coloring today. If not, I hope you at least enjoyed just watching me color, and maybe you guys can also take advantage of that Blick deal I mentioned before. Even if you don't, it's okay, they always have a lot of deals and whatnot. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thank you for listening to me talk. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section, especially letting me know if I talked a little bit too fast at certain points. I'm notorious for doing that, especially in real life. It's really not a big deal, but I do want to be more conscientious of it because we're all working to better ourselves, aren't we? So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching and have an amazing day, and I will see you next time. And hopefully next time will be a Halloween video. Hoo-hoo. Let's see. Later!